The grand award winner this year is the REVEL Entertainment Hotel Casino Resort. It is a 5.8 million square foot entertainment resort, hotel, casino, and spa sited on a large beachfront parcel with 1,000 feet of boardwalk frontage.
It was a very tough project because there were so many moving parts. It's unusual to have any project that's got 13 restaurants, a 5,000 seat arena, a world-class spa, 7 different pools, pools that are 24/7 operation, that are indoor-outdoor pools where you can actually swim 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, which creates a lot of challenges.
At 61 stories and over 735 feet, REVEL's Hotel Tower is the tallest building in Atlantic City and the second tallest structure in the state of New Jersey. Wind tunnel analysis proved design winds to be higher than code for both the main wind force resisting elements and the facade.
So the REVEL Tower is a concrete tower over 735 feet tall and reflects quite an accomplishment not only for Atlantic City but for REVEL itself. When it was started, we had to do a wind tunnel analysis on it to reflect the accurate wind pressures on the tower, being the second tallest in New Jersey. When we did the wind tunnel analysis, it turned out that the wind pressures were actually higher than code load. So you say, what does that matter? A lot of people came back when they were designing certain components of the tower, particularly facade, and said, can we follow code? And I said, no, it was very important that we follow the wind tunnel. With pressures reaching almost 180 pounds a square foot at the top of the tower, it was imperative that we follow the wind tunnel. The tower was built with 4-foot thick shear walls. It was reflective of the best of the that Atlantic City could provide relative to resources. When I say that, Tishman brought in a company called iCrete that helped design a wonderful concrete mix to help us get the 12,000 PSI concrete that we needed and pump it up to the top of the tippy top of the tower. We also had to import concrete aggregates to gain the strength needed for the concrete tower. It was a true balancing act, a cooperation between ourselves, Tishman Construction, as well as the concrete contractors to provide really one of the best results of concrete construction that I can think of in the New Jersey area, as well as probably in the United States.
REVEL was the largest project the Tri-State had ever done to date. It began in 2008. We were here from the very start of foundations, and we were here until 2012 with the completion of the nightclub. Previously, our other jobs had been smaller in scale than the REVEL, much smaller, but this ended up becoming close to a $40 million contract for Tri-State.
We started the REVEL Hotel Casino project in February of 2008. We started with foundations, the mat foundations for the 2 towers. There were 6 mats. Total was about 36,000 cubic yards of concrete. We poured each mat separately in a continuous pour. Each mat had an average of between 4,000 and 9,000 cubic yards of concrete. If you can imagine, that would be 900 concrete trucks lined up and ready to pour into the mats.
The resort casino is designed with 2 towers, but one tower is temporarily capped at the top of the casino. The towers have an 11:1 aspect ratio. 3 4-foot thick concrete mega walls provide the lateral stability and acceleration control required. We see the tower here.
Working through that time frame of the year, going from a hot summer to a cold winter to another hot summer, we placed concrete in extreme temperatures and wind conditions, everything from hot weather using retarders and cold weather using accelerators and covering and blanketing.
We started the project in 2008 with foundations behind the piles. Piles were the first thing driven on the job. We began a tri-venture, with Abenizio Construction and Madison Construction, and we were the first 3 contractors here.
Most of the projects I've completed have been in the New York metropolitan area. I came here specifically to do this project primarily because of the size, the tough logistics and the schedule. That's what had me relocate to Atlantic City for almost a 5-year period to complete this project.
One of the challenges on a project like this that has a fairly long duration is running through the cycles and seasons of the year. There were days when we were pouring concrete in the hottest of weather, when it's hot and windy. You could stand up there on the top deck and look out and all these people on the beach having fun, swimming in the water, and brutally hot on the deck. Making sure our guys had a lot of water to try to defeat the effects of heat and dehydration was a challenge. The other end of the spectrum are winter construction. When you'd show up in the morning, it'd be raining down at the trailer at the bottom of the lift. You ride the hoist up to the 32nd floor, and there's 2 inches of snow on top of the wide slab. I mean, absolutely amazing conditions. The wind here at the Atlantic seacoast can be pretty brutal. There were days when we actually had to, before breaking down at the end of the day, tie everything down. These are challenges that we worked very hard to overcome. Did our best to make sure that they did not affect our schedule very much.
Concrete strength of 14,000 psi was specified and achieved. Each tower's wall elements have 27,500 cubic yards of concrete and 5,000 tons of reinforcing steel with number 18 bars, grade 75 coupled bars required at the lowest levels. The grade 75 reinforcing steel saves 10% of the reinforcing, thus reducing congestion. The project monopolized the quantity of number 18 reinforcing steel and couplers in the country. Look at that steel, particularly the vertical bars.
Windy days when you can't operate the crane. I climbed up on top of one of the cranes one day just to see what it was like, and I just couldn't believe how windy it can be up there sitting in the seat of one of those cranes.
Because obviously with Hurricane Sandy coming up the coast and REVEL being this tall spire up in the air, everybody was concerned about the tower. I was not concerned about any of the structure at all, being engineer of record with my sign and seal on it. The tower is sitting on piles. I think the tower itself, each tower has about 2,000 piles underneath of it. Each pile can handle about 750,000 pounds of load on it, which is enormous. When Hurricane Sandy was coming up and everybody was shut down, I'm sitting at home on my laptop and reading my emails, and I get an email from the pile driver. And he emails me and he says, Jan, is REVEL going to fall over? And I emailed him back and I said, absolutely not. No, total confidence in the design, and she came through it beautifully. So hopefully we can get the benefit of the design and the financial side also.
The precast shells were used and were pre-stressed and reinforced, reducing the quantity of field place reinforcing steel in the slabs. The shells are cast with a foam void where solid concrete is not required for strength. This in turn reduces the volume of concrete and weight of the overall tower. We are looking at a typical floor. Mat foundations up to 17 feet thick were required due to the significant overturning forces. Concrete strengths were kept to 6,000 psi in the mat to minimize heat gain. Mat foundations up to 17 feet thick were required due to significant overturning forces. Concrete strengths were kept to 6,000 psi in the mat to minimize heat gain. Mock-ups were done to monitor heat gain and loss. A high 75% slag mix in the concrete was used to control the heat. Cast in the middle of winter, embedded thermocouples continuously measure the concrete temperature. Results were reviewed and graphed to verify that the results fell within ACI limits. There are 54 supported filigree framed slabs, 10 inches thick. For the lower floors, column-hung shoring systems were used. Flying truss shoring systems were used on the hotel level. Construction is well underway now. For the floor framing, 43,000 cubic yards of concrete were poured with 4,600 tons of reinforcing steel. Look at that vertical steel again. Careful calculations were prepared to evaluate short and long-term shortening. This shortening was monitored throughout construction of the tower.
This was a new project out of the ground. It obviously had many challenges. It was a very aggressive schedule. We were dealing with 76 different design firms that pulled the design of the project to fruition. We had almost 3,000 men on site at peak. The challenges of having that many men on site and scheduling all of the material deliveries that need to support that kind of an infrastructure is pretty incredible, but it was extremely rewarding.
We were involved in the tunnels. There are tunnels that lead from the parking garage. There are man tunnels and there are vehicle tunnels in the valet parking. So that was kind of exciting, doing some of the tunnel work. And again, being here in the very beginning, we have some aerial photos of the job, and just seeing it take shape again, it was an exciting job. And again, working along with Madison and watching them, complete the tower as we were completing the low rises was very interesting to see too. And again, even up until the final phase, when we were able to work in the nightclub and seeing through the completion of that and the beauty of it. I mean, it's just, I'm probably the Revel's biggest fan. You know, I'm so excited about it. I'm very proud of the Revel. I think it's a beautiful hotel casino in Atlantic City, and I do feel a lot of pride toward this job.
So my feelings relative to REVEL, we obviously started REVEL, the design of REVEL, during the best of times, and it ended in the worst of times with the final kick in the teeth from Hurricane Sandy. The design was the funnest thing I've ever worked on in my life. It had the challenges of time, it had the challenges of money, it had the challenges of over 50 consultants, and a super wow experience with super materials and high-end and height, wind pressures, the most challenging of design parameters, but the most cooperative of spirits amongst the design consultants and the owner in particular. It was truly a wonderful experience from soup to nuts.
Projects like this, and Madison has done quite a few of them, they're really challenging, but they're a lot of fun. I can give you an anecdote where early on in the project, I came down to the trailer at about 5:30 in the morning. Our superintendent, Harry Duke, was already in the trailer, and he was kind of surprised to see me, and he wanted to know, well, what are you doing here? And my response was, well, we're going to be doing this large pour today, and it's way up in the air, and I'm a little nervous and want to make sure everything works well. And he shared with me that yes, he's here early because he was loving it too, and he hardly got to sleep last night, and he paused for a moment and said, but I love this. And I could not agree with him more. We love what we do, and we're very proud of what we did at REVEL. It was a huge challenge to go through the schedule as quickly as we did, deal with the elements, build complicated parts of a building, and have it come out successfully.
This is a tower nearing completion. This project is a great example of high-performance concrete from design through execution.
We are very proud of our casino resort here at REVEL. Our building quickly turned into a landmark here in Atlantic City and in New Jersey, and employs approximately 4,000 people. Guests alike are astounded by the beautiful architecture and views throughout the resort. And I would like to give a special thanks to all the men and women who built this beautiful building. And last but not least, I would like to thank you for this wonderful honor and hope that many people come see us this summer.